Hey, hello, and welcome to another session of our live traveling content creator Q&A. I'm late. I promoted the show as having started at what would be 4 p.m. Czech Republic time. I'm in Prague now, 10 a.m. Eastern time in the USA. But I had some technological errors, which I've been having since I started using these trying to doing these YouTube live Q&A sessions. Apparently, YouTube likes you to use the Chrome browser when doing these and not Firefox. For the past 3 live Q&As, I've used Firefox, and there's been all kinds of issues. So anyway, hopefully, I I really don't like having anything Google downloaded on my computer, but you know, Google kind of wants they want you in their ecosystem, right? So if I'm using YouTube, Google product, and I want to do these live streams, I kind of need to use the Chrome browser. So anyway, that's all downloaded and we're ready to go. Doug Gilmore says that he is listening from Bogota. That's real funny, man. Like I had a dog when I was a kid who I named Gilmore after the hockey player Doug Gilmore for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was by far my favorite player. So good name, man. Good name. Anyway, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below, and I'll answer them live. But first off, and another thing is I have my laptop right down here, so if you see my eyes going back and forth, I'm not socially awkward, and I don't have problems with eye contact. It's that I'm looking at my screen, right, to see people writing and everything. Anyway, so if you guys have any questions about travel, being a traveling journalist, traveling filmmaker, moving through the world, kind of collecting content and chronicling the way as they are or how you see them, and making money doing so, feel free to ask. Our first question, we're going to start the first question where we left off during the last session last week. And it was an interesting question. It was so interesting that I had to, turn off the live feed and go run somewhere else. But anyway, I was asked, what was it? It was, well, yeah, was there anything that you feared when you were a kid, kind of growing up, that just never happened? And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of go in that category. But it's kind of funny. Like when you're a kid, growing up in the USA, you tend to, think that the world is a bad place, both where you live and outside of where you live. You consume a lot of media from, news networks, NGOs, and a lot of other things. That's, I don't want to say they're trying to convince you that the world is bad, but that's really where the story is. We tend to take for granted things that are kind of good, right? So when I was a kid, especially when I was a teenager, I was kind of like right in the beginning, right when this whole globalization thing started like kicking off, right? And we all thought, it was, oh yeah, this is going to be a global race to the bottom, and everybody's going to be poor. We're all going to be working for these rich people, blah, 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 blah. And you kind of thought that the world was going to be like this horrible place. Everybody was going to be like these indentured servants, and nobody was going to have a job, and everybody's going to be poor, and it's all going to be so completely horrible. But that just didn't happen. You know what I mean? Now a lot of people are real sensitive, kind of about this, but almost across the board, right? I mean, when we have these kind of criteria by which we measure living standards by, and almost across the board, I mean, the world is like, humans are living better now than we ever had, in the entire spans of like human history and prehistory, right? And you really feel this like when you start traveling, right? You go and you think, oh, this place could be bad. There'll be people dying in the streets. Everybody's going to be starving and blah, blah, blah. And then you actually go out and you see these places and you're like, hey, where's all the starving people? Where's all the dying, hungry children? Where's all this stuff, right? And now there still is a lot of bad things in the world. There's a lot of people that don't have, what they need. There's a lot of countries that are, in the throes of like, violence and war and all that stuff. But when we average things out across the board, across the world, and we look back, even looking back on the 20th century, man, we're living pretty effing good right now. And I don't know how long it's gonna last, but rather than complaining about it, it's kind of, I don't know, probably better off trying to enjoy it for as long as we can, because things probably aren't going to be this good for long. I mean, people, we tend to have a tendency of taking what is good for granted and only focusing on what is bad. That's both in our media and, in conversations, as well as, our own worldviews. And we also have a hard time kind of remembering how things were in the past. I mean, look at the 20th century. I mean, we had, 3 acts of like mass genocide that happened on 3 different continents, at least 3, right? We had wars, we had, like 100 million people who starved to death in China. I mean, we've had these like, humanitarian crises that are, almost incomprehensible now. And I don't know, we're in a global lull, I guess, for real conflict and horrible things. I mean, I know there's still horrible things happening in the world every day, but as a whole, I mean, that's one of the things that kind of really surprised me. I thought we were, moving towards our doom, when I was a teenager, and then you go travel the world. It's like, oh man, this place really ain't so bad. This is kind of nice. And I work as a journalist, so I go to a lot of, AKA shithole countries and kind of look at these, conflicts or problem areas. So I kind of have, more of a balanced perspective. I'm not just hanging out in kind of nice tourist sites or tourist cities or, places that people actually want to be. So anyway, we have a question. Oh, our old friend, Georgie Romanoff. Hi, Wade. What do you think of new alternatives to YouTube as a platform for publishing videos, especially the Instagram TV with vertical video format? Man, I think anything that's connected to a major media company is going to be basically the same thing as YouTube. They're going to be forever, tied to their advertisers, and they're going to defer towards what the advertisers want and not what the content creators want. YouTube is good because YouTube shares, revenue that you make from your videos 50-50 with content creators. Now, while you like that to be more of a, 80-20 split, I mean, they're at least giving you something. Facebook gives you nothing. Most other platforms give you, a platform and, no earnings, even though they make money off your content. So YouTube is good in that way. YouTube is bad in that they don't know what they're doing anymore. Like, seriously, I mean, it started out, YouTube was this free-for-all of content, producers. It was kind of like YouTube kind of arose during like the free-for-all, the Wild West era of the internet, where people were like putting up anything and nobody cared. It was this mass free-for-all of, crazy commenters and crazy people putting up these crazy videos and all this stuff. And then YouTube, like really, or Google actually, really developed their advertiser platform. They really, advanced with their advertiser network. And they started making a lot of money off this YouTube product, and advertisers started having a problem with some of the things that were kind of being published, and governments started having a problem with some of the things that were being published. And I mean, even yesterday, I logged on to YouTube, opened up my page, and I noticed there was a notification across the top that says, we disabled all of your comments on all of your videos. Well, why would YouTube disable the ability for people to comment on my videos? I didn't do that. So like, some, YouTube algorithm robot or something decided that people on my videos were leaving comments that they deemed harassing or, otherwise not nice. So in order to kind of save me and, the other people who visit these pages, they just disabled and removed all the comments on all my 400 or so videos. They had to have a real save the children bend to it too, right? Oh, these people may be dangerous to children or some kind of bull crap like that, right? So I had to go and like manually, put the comments back on like all my videos. And it just kind of shows like how YouTube, first of all, it doesn't really understand what's being published on the pages. And they realize that they have these problems of having kind of this free-for-all network and problems with, advertisers wanting certain things to go on, and they just don't know what to do. And my fear is that, Google on YouTube is going to do the same thing that Google did with search and just kind of cleanse the ecosystem of independent content creators, people that they don't know how to control, that they don't know how to rank and file or kind of organize as being safe or not safe, and just defer big time to the big brands. That's what Google did with search around 2011, 2012, and wiped out an entire ecosystem of independent content creators who were kind of dependent on Google for their revenue and for traffic. boom, gone. For 5 or 6 years, Google was your best friend, right? You follow Google's rules, you got traffic, you got money, you made it as a webmaster. But then Google decided that they didn't know how to control this, ecosystem of people anymore. So they just wiped out everybody that they knew couldn't control and like started giving traffic to all the big brands. And they'll probably do that on YouTube. As far as alternatives to YouTube, that is something that we sorely need, right? But it needs to be independent, it has to be decentralized, and it has to be more of a people's medium and not the medium of a corporation. Then we see Amazon getting into video with like Twitch and whatever, and we see George, you recommended, you brought up Instagram TV, and there's all these platforms big companies who know that they can make a lot of money off of video, because there's all kinds of like independent video creators, content creators, who will essentially work for these companies for free, produce content for them for free, make them money with very little investment into the actual content side of things, right? So all these big companies kind of want a piece of this pie, but all these companies have to, and they realize that Google's having, or YouTube's having some major problems, and really all it takes is for one platform to open up and have some big YouTubers say, hey, YouTube, you suck, you've been restricting us for too long, you don't know what you're doing anymore, we're going over to this platform. And like every 13-year-old kid is going to go over to that platform too. I'll probably go. Everybody probably go. And then YouTube stuck with, I don't know, BBC News, Al Jazeera, and some boring ass, corporate entities, marketers, and crap. I mean, just like do a Google search for something, and you're gonna get a long list of, corporate sites that are very interesting, right? The reason why people started going to the internet, first of all, is because it was a wild west of opinions, and they could find things that they couldn't find in the everyday mainstream media. There's still a demand for that. There's still a desire to kind of explore content online, and the next platform that gives people that urge, that rush of like discovering something new, meeting somebody new, they're going to get us, man. We're going to go. I mean, we're chomping at the bit to get out of YouTube, man. Like seriously. I mean, from like whatever the big YouTubers on down, we are waiting for a new alternative, and hopefully somebody will create that. All right, Chris Smith is here. How you doing, Chris? Chris once gave me a laptop computer when I was a poor vagabond. I couldn't afford one myself, back in the early days of blogging on the Vagabond Journey. You saved my ass, man. Anyway, welcome to the show. If you have any questions, just let me know. Anyway, let's see here. More questions. I'm finally getting my New Silk Road book done. It's been 3 years. I submitted a manuscript to the publisher this morning, or my commission and editor. It was a mess. I mean, it was a real mess. Imagine traveling for 3 years and researching something for 3 years and trying to put that together into like a cohesive narrative. It was tough. Oh, I guess Chris Smith is calling himself Moondoggy now. How you doing, Moondoggy? Anyway, looking like people ask questions from like all kinds of different media, so I just kind of had to find some of it. Okay, here's a question. It's a camera question. What camera would you recommend for somebody just getting started wanting to be a traveling vlogger? Oh boy. I mean, I kind of answered this question before, but as far as video gear goes, it's amazing what you can get now for between $1,000 and $2,000. And a lot of camera companies are kind of going for this kind of vlogger, kind of grassroots, content creator market. Sony just came out with a camera called the A6400. Now, one of my core cameras previously in the past was the A6000, which is pretty much the same series as this camera. And this camera is being marketed to vloggers, have a flip-up screen and all this stuff. It don't look bad. I mean, it was shooting log, it'll do what you want to do, but then you're dealing with Sony's really, really horrible color science. I mean, I mean, you shoot you video like a white person, you know, with a Sony camera. They come out looking like they have jaundice or they need to go to the hospital or they're malnourished. I mean, the color science in Sony cameras is absolutely awful. So I mean, I would recommend Panasonic's GH series, GH5. You can pick up a GH4 for like nothing, and if you're just getting going, GH4 would do the job. I mean, you could probably pick one up for $600. If you really want to get into filmmaking, I would get one of these. This is a Blackmagic cinema camera. Now, this is $1,000 camera, but you can pick them up on eBay now for, you know, like $300. And this is a top level cinema camera. Hollywood movies have been shot on this camera, or have used this camera. Like that last Mad Max movie, they use this camera like a lot in it. And they've also used it because it takes like, you know, cinema quality video, and it doesn't cost much. So they can just destroy them. At the end of a lot of Hollywood shoots, they're just kind of a pile of dead Blackmagic cameras because they're so cheap, they're almost disposable. Well, for us poor guys, that's really what I would recommend. Go Blackmagic, man. Go Blackmagic. Learn how to really use a camera. Like I'm looking at this on like a computer screen, so it's real hard to sometimes see the focus because the screen resolution isn't very good. But I think we're good. Yeah. So yeah, go Blackmagic. Let's look what else we got. Georgie, do you have any more questions? Come on, man. I know you have a question. Okay. Oh, okay. I have a bunch of questions now. I recently did. I'll give a quick update of what's going on. I'm starting a new website. It'll probably be called the Chroniclers.global or the Chroniclers something, and that's going to be a website about being a traveling content collector, traveling filmmaker, traveling journalist, writer, author, you know, blogger, whatever. Just basically people who go out and travel the world and kind of chronicle what they see, right? There's a lot of websites about, you know, making films and being a journalist and all this. And then there's a lot of websites about traveling. There's going to be a website about combining these two elements because, you know, a lot of filmmakers, a lot of journalists, we travel, right? And there's not a lot of information out there on how to really do this, how to bring your gear, how to use your gear in certain situations, how to meet people, you know, how to essentially land in a country that you have no idea what's going on and make the contacts that you need to get your story, and to do so safely and not go to jail. So that's basically what this site is going to be about. It'll probably be called the Chroniclers.global. Chroniclers, because I mean, I need a word that kind of sums up what, you know, traveling, you know, documentary filmmakers or people in news, and also, you know, text journalists and bloggers do. And what we do, we chronicle the world. I mean, we chronicle what's happening and, you know, kind of leave this, you know, historic record almost of what is going on, you know, right now. So, but most of the sites for people who kind of cross over between the different disciplines, kind of like I do. But it's the same show. I mean, if you're going to Kazakhstan to do a radio show, a lot of the preparation is the same as going to Kazakhstan to make a film, going to Kazakhstan to do a photojournalism story, or just, you know, blog about it or write a text article. So that's what it's going to be about. I'm kind of excited about it. Very, very different than Vagabond Journey, which is just my, you know, personal travel stories and all that crap for my mom. All right, Georgie has another question. Why the site has fewer articles? You mean Vagabond Journey? It's been having fewer articles lately because I've been busy, like really busy. I kind of found myself in this weird situation. Now you start a project, especially a big project, it's kind of like a lifeline that they kind of go through between, like, you know, conception, you get the idea, then you go out, you travel, you collect content, you kind of organize that content, and then you kind of process it into the final product. Well, right now I'm in the middle of, like, no joke, 5 big projects where I've already traveled and collected most of the content that I'm in the organization and process and stages. So I don't know how I ended up like this, because usually I like to stagger things, right? I like to be going out and collecting content for one story while I'm finishing up and getting ready to publish another story. But now I have 5 big projects that's like at the same exact phase, right? And it's the phase where you kind of just sit in a little room and type on the computer, right? Because I mean, there's 2 main phases to being a traveling content collector, right? One is going out in the world and getting the story, doing the interviews, getting the videos, getting, collecting all the content, the fun part. And the other half is sitting in a little room, typing it all up, editing it and publishing it and promoting it, right? 2 completely different phases to the profession. And if you don't do one, the other is completely irrelevant. If you don't go out and do the travel and, get the great stories, have the adventures, you're not going to have nothing to produce. And if you don't produce your adventure stories, then it's all for nothing, because you're not doing anything with it, right? So I'm kind of stuck right now in a content processing phase that I'll probably be in for the next 5 months probably. So I'm gonna really try my best not to start any new projects, which is really tough, because you go out there in the I'm in Prague right now. You go out there in the streets and you see things and you meet people and oh wow, that'd be a great story. And then all of a sudden you find yourself, putting your camera in people's faces, asking questions, doing research, and then it all starts all over again. So I need some discipline and just sit in the room and just put my head down and process. So that's why I've been having kind of fewer articles going up on Vagabond Journey lately, which is kind of a mess of a site. There's just, the blogs are supposed to be semi-chronological. There's nothing chronological about it. You look at, you don't even know where the hell I am, if I'm in Prague, if I'm in Thailand, or if I'm in Malaysia or Lebanon. There's no order to it. It's just random stories at this point. Okay, another question. How are you doing? It's great to see another live and making time for it. We appreciate it a lot. No, thank you, man. You are a well-traveled man and one great journalist, documentary maker. Oh, thank you. Oh, man. Oh, thank you. That's excellent, man. I appreciate it. Wait, I love your documentaries. Did you go to a film school? Your editing and shots are great. No film school at all. I don't have anything against film school. It's just that a lot of times in university, kind of universities are kind of, their bread and butter is on the theoretical, not the practical, or else it'd be called trade schools. So in film school, they seem to have this insecurity about becoming a trade school, right? About being a school, being a department where people go to, get technical knowledge that they can go. But however, when you go to film school, you think you're going to be kind of going to a trade school and learning how to actually make films. And what a lot of people find out, when they go to film school, is that they spend 3 years studying film, and maybe they have a class about actually how to make them. So a lot of times it's a complete waste. That said, I can't speak for every film school. I only know of the ones that I talk to people who went to them. But I say that, there's probably some good ones, and there's also a lot of training courses. You can go, like New York University or something. You can go for 6 weeks, a documentary filmmaking course, and that is a trade school. And they would teach you, the actual tools and, techniques that you need to actually go out and do this job. But no, I never did anything of that. I kind of went to my, probably about 2.5 years ago, I decided I was going to take film seriously, right? I worked on a bunch of documentary projects and film projects, and doing different things, serving in different capacities for a lot of major organizations, news organizations, and kind of big time filmmakers and whatever. And a lot of these projects got canned, they got canceled, or some of them turned out very well, but some of them turned out in a way that I really didn't think was the best way to present the information, or whatever. But anyway, it was a mess, man. It was a real mess, and I realized that if I wanted to make films that I wanted to actually make and see, that I would need to do them myself. So around 2 years ago, I started kind of intensively kind of studying film and really learned how to use cameras, equipment, and all that stuff. And I kind of did so from the ground up, reading books, YouTube videos, and whatever. But I kind of gave myself my own film. At first of all, I realized I didn't know shit, right? I've been using cameras and making videos for 10, 12 years before that, but I realized I knew nothing about them. So I started from the ground up and just kind of been steadily learning, and now I'm getting to a point where I'm getting decent. I wouldn't say good yet, but I'm getting decent and Plus, I really love it. It's what I like to do. So it's kind of my passion. So, when you get passionate about something, you get kind of obsessive over it, and you just study it and you just practice it kind of all day long. And that's what film kind of became for me. And I actually think I don't want to go on saying that I did things the best way, but a lot of successful filmmakers, as in ones that actually get paid to do what they do, they didn't go to film school, man. Some of them did. I mean, film school isn't bad if you have the money for it and time for it, but they just basically taught themselves. And by teaching yourself, it kind of gives you a leg up, because you're just going out instead of going to a class and sitting in the classroom all day and having to do homework and all that. You're going out and you're practicing in the field. You're going out and you're making the mistakes that every filmmaker is going to make, before the kids in film school even, get a chance to get their hands on a camera, right? And it's through like making these mistakes, making these errors, figuring out how to do things better, that you are really going to learn. You're really going to gain the skills to do, make the films that you want to make. And yeah, I mean, you go out, you film, you go back, you look at what you shot, and you're just like, oh man, that's horrible, man. Or you go and look at something you edited a year ago, and it's like, oh man, that's terrible. And that's like the best feeling. It doesn't feel good, but that feeling means that you're kind of progressing and you're kind of getting somewhere, because like, the more that you realize how much you suck, the more knowledge you're actually gaining in whatever it is you're pursuing. So basically, that's all I've been doing, is going out, practicing every single day, and looking at what I'm doing, and basically just realizing how much it sucks. Raj Deora says, "Hi Wade, I have read your articles on Forbes. Your book on ghost cities, empty cities, is not available in India on Amazon India." Oh man, sorry about that, man. I don't know what to say. That book was published with a publisher called Zed Books, and have a partner with a publisher for a book, especially your first book, is a good thing to do. But you lose a lot of control of the distribution process, so it's really something that I have no control over. I won't mention it to the publisher though. I'll send them an email and say, yo, there's people in India that wants to buy this book. Why isn't it being sold on Amazon India? But if you want a copy, I hope my publisher doesn't hear me say this, but send me your email and I'll email you a PDF version of it for free. Okay. Georgie has another question about the process. I was on a trip to Japan for a month. Now I have been working on video and articles for 4 months. I do not go anywhere to finish the work, but this does not mean that I want to go on the road. How do you optimize your work time? That's a great question. How do I optimize my work time? I mean, especially since I'm working across many different media platforms, blogging, writing articles for big media, write articles for corporate entities that pay a lot of money, personal film projects, kind of mass media film projects, books. So time is really is that is the question, man. How do you optimize your time? I usually optimize my time. First of all, I'm pretty organized about it. I make a list of things that I want to do today, things that I want to do this week, things that I want to accomplish this month, and then 3 months, and then 6 months. Right. So I kind of have this, list. I handwrite it because it really feels good to cross something off a list rather than just deleting something, like Evernote or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you really, really, really need to be organized. And like when you complete a day, or when a day is over that you didn't finish what's on your list that says you want to finish for that day, it doesn't feel good, and it shouldn't feel good. You know what I mean? And basically, when you're passionate about this work and creating, it's not like work. It's just like what you love to do. So when you finish something, you feel good. When I publish a blog post, I feel good. When I finish an article, I feel good. When I put a day into and I really got somewhere with organizing video content or editing, I feel good. It feels like I accomplished something. I won the day. You know what I mean? And it's really that feeling that kind of drives you. And now, one of the things I do to kind of optimize my time, because I mean, a lot of people have been talking about this, especially recently. If you have large blocks of time, you have all day long to do something. It's a little harder to like get it done because you start thinking about it too much. Noam Kroll, go to noamkroll.com. He does an amazing podcast, and he just talked about this the other day, and he's going to talk about it way better than what I can right here. But basically, there's two sides of the brain: creative side, analytical side. And what he said is that if you have a lot of time to do something, you start thinking about it too much, you start questioning it. It's not just flowing out of you, right? So I mean, I have no time to do anything, right? So if I want to get something done, I need to go really, really fast, right? And to kind of create a sense of urgency, I set a timer. For 25 minutes throughout the day, meaning that for this 25 minutes, I'm going to focus on, whatever task it is and get it done. And I know that the time is always ticking, so it keeps me focused on that task, and it keeps me moving quickly, right? And then once that 25 minutes up, I'll take a 5-minute break, start another 25-minute period, on and on and on. So I'm kind of always on the clock, so I can't just, hang out and daydream. No, hanging out and daydreaming is kind of an important part of the process. Having a beer and just kind of thinking about what you're doing and kind of talking to yourself and kind of walking around, I kind of narrate everything I write or the videos that I make or whatever. I'll walk around and narrate it all first. It's kind of ridiculous. If you ever seen me doing it, it's completely corny, right? But this kind of like allows me to kind of create the kind of creative the world. I mean, it allows me to really see like the world that I'm trying to create. And even when you do journalism and nonfiction, right, and you're still kind of creating a world, right? And so these creative periods where you're just doing nothing, that's important too. However, when you're at the laptop, when it's work time, it's work time. There's no daydreaming, there's no thinking. You just fucking plow it. Plow through it. And I found having a timer is really helpful and being really organized about what you want to accomplish, day, week, month, 6 months, a year. I mean, there's no hard rule that says that you need to do all these things, but having a plan really keeps you on track, and it keeps you from like, sitting there and being like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What should I do? What is more important to do? Was this more important than this? And then you're just wasting time. Another question. Wade, thank you. This question is slightly off topic, but Czech Republic is one of only a few countries worldwide to legalize LSD. What is your take on LSD or other drugs like mushrooms? I mean, if you like doing drugs, that's fine. I mean, I don't personally do drugs at all. My take on drugs is that I mean, if it comes from the ground, I mean, this isn't backed by any kind of scientific evidence or any kind of research. But if it comes to the ground, it's probably okay. What I don't like is drugs that come from a lab, or drugs that are cut with lots of other things that you don't know what's in it. You don't know what's in it. That said, you don't know what's in your food either, so. But anyway, yeah, I mean, this was like the first time I heard that LSD was like legal in Czech Republic. I've been coming here for a long time. I had no idea. So obviously, it's not something that really has much of an impact on the streets level. I mean, you're not going around seeing people like tweaking out on LSD or anything like that. But generally, I think drugs should be 100% legal. I mean, you want to get rid of drug gangs, legalize it. You want to get rid of the drug war, legalize it. And what happens when you legalize something is, I mean, again, I have no data to back this up, but it doesn't become this forbidden fruit. It becomes something that you can do if you want to do it, right? Not something that you can do to rebel or kind of look cool or whatever. But that said, I try to stay as far away from drugs as possible. It's just not interesting to me. It's like the Dalai Lama said. I mean, these fucking like hippie beat writers, but it was, it was like Ginsberg and Gary Snyder went and met the Dalai Lama, and they asked him about drugs, right? Of course, they're hippies like in the 60s, right? And what Dalai Lama said, he said, is drugs create a very real mental state, but it's not a mental state that's going to take you to a higher spiritual level because you didn't do anything to obtain it, right? You didn't put any effort into getting it. And that's what I kind of think of drugs. Yeah, it's recreational if you want to do it, but there's nothing more to it than that. I don't want anything to do with it. But if you want to, come to Czech Republic and get some LSD. Another question from Raj. Oh, he sent me his email. Cool. I'll send you a copy of that book. Also, in India, we were promised 100 smart cities. Some token work has been done on this. You closely follow cities, which a smart city model is economically viable. Anyway, smart city model is economically viable because that's what sells. That's what, developers and tech firms can sell to governments. It's what governments can sell to the people. Oh, we're gonna, build this. I mean, part of the whole. I'll contextualize this a little bit. Right now, there's more than 200 new cities, completely brand new, massive cities that are being built in Asia and Africa, and East Asia, West Asia, the Middle East, Africa. Like right now, these are completely new dots on the map that are, being created from scratch, right? And part of kind of creating these new cities is, governments of emerging markets. We'll put it in polite terms. Emerging markets feel that if they kind of create these new cities, they can kind of leapfrog and kind of get ahead of developed Western economies or whatever. And it also kind of removes the kind of shit show that they allowed happen in their existing cities. I mean, you are not going into Dhaka and making the place livable anytime soon. I mean, a place like Dhaka are pretty much a lost cause, in my opinion. I mean, they need to evacuate the place and knock it to the ground and start all over again, because there is probably in the city just has so many people that moved into it so quickly, and without the resources to kind of provide for these people, and so much informal development that it's pretty much it's very, very difficult and very, very expensive if you want to go in and retrofit it and try to make it better. So part of the solution is, hey, we're not going to fix Dhaka. What we're going to do is build a new Dhaka, a new city, like over here. We're going to kick these farmers off the land, which is very easy to do. And we're going to build this whole new metropolis that we can build, to kind of meet the demands of the modern era. And we're going to make a lot of money doing this because we can sell this land, for super expensive. And then we can get all these, big global Fortune 500 companies to come into it and give everybody these jobs. And of course, it never really works out to that level. But oftentimes it does work out if given enough time and there's, big enough backers behind the projects. Many of these new cities generally become actual places. Very rarely do they ever, meet the expectations that they had when they began, but they do become actually inhabited places. China's a different story, because China doesn't work on economic fundamentals, and basically, the Communist Party of China can move people and companies and businesses wherever they want them to be moved. So the whole "Go Cities in China" narrative, that was really a farce from the start. I mean, basically, talking about, it's a country that doesn't, it's not a market economy, right? It's a country that moved over 200 million people to different places, by force, right? They can populate pretty much anywhere they want to populate. And that said, places like India can't do that, because India is more of a market economy, and India doesn't have that powerful of a central government, although it does have very, very, very powerful. Modi is very powerful, man. Okay, oh my God, 200 new cities. Yeah, at least 200. At least that's a conservative estimate. It's an all-out movement. I mean, when we look back on this age, it's going to be called the age of the city builders. And guys, pretty soon this battery is probably going to cut out of this camera, so the feed's going to go dead for a second, but I'll be able to pop in a new battery and continue on, just to let you guys know. Anyway, next question. Oh, Chris Smith. Film Oaxaca for a day. Day of the Dead some year. Mexican Mardi Gras on steroids. Colonial pine forest above the beach and down the slope. 1,500 mountain meters with an excellent exchange rate. Endless photo ops. Yeah, Oaxaca's nice, man. Oaxaca is nice. And those Mexican parades are insane, man. Even when you live in Mexico for a long time, seeing them was like, whoa, this is crazy. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of like New Orleans, only bigger and crazier, as Chris said. Yeah, but I'd like to go to Mexico. I mean, I wouldn't want to live or work there right now, but it's a nice place to be if you just want to hang out and enjoy life. Probably the best place to be to enjoy life on the planet. Well, right now in this phase of my life, I'm still chasing ambition. And Mexico's not a good place for ambition. Wait, on the last live, my final question I asked, what did you fear when you were young about your future that did not happen? That was actually the first question that I answered on this live feed. Once this live feed is finished, I'll go on the YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, you can like back up and watch it there. That was the first question that I answered. And basically, I fear that the world is going to be this bad place. It's going to like, descend into a pit of, I don't know, poverty and war. And that just didn't, I mean, the exact opposite actually happened. And I talk more about it. It's, probably gonna piss a lot of people off. When you say the world is good, people get mad. It's a weird thing, right? If you say, oh, the world is so horrible and everybody's dying and fighting, people are like, oh, yeah. That's, well, if you say, oh, yeah, the world's actually a good place, and statistically speaking, like every measurable, category, we are living better than what we ever had in like the history of our species, people get really mad, right? Even when you could back it up with the facts and the data and show all the charts and stuff, and even like take people places. Hey, 15, 20 years ago when I first started traveling, this place was a shithole, and now there's this booming middle class, and people have access to like education and food and telecom networks and technology and all this stuff that they think makes them have a good life. People get really pissed because it's not really what you're saying that pisses people off when you challenge people's worldviews, right? And as a traveler, one of the first things that you kind of like work out is that you can disagree with people, and you can have debates, and you can have fun, kind of challenging conversations, but you never, ever go into a group and challenge their worldview, because people have these things, kind of these worldviews are always kind of ignorant, but it's just kind of like how you see the planet and how you organize the things around you. When you go in and say, actually it's not like that. Actually, I seen it. It was actually like this. And this study proves that it's like this, and this data like says, hey, this isn't the way it is. No matter where you are, Middle East, China, USA, USA conservatives, USA liberals, you challenge people's worldviews, you piss them off. So as a traveler, you kind of learn to, is this topic, is somebody expressing their worldview on this topic? And if so, I should probably shut the F up, right? Because chances are, my worldview, in my opinion, is going to be a little bit different. And that's, people get ostracized for challenging the worldview of the group, What beer am I drinking? This is just a Pilsner, your Quell. It's a Czech beer. Not a bad beer. Not a bad beer at all, but cheap. I mean, this costs like 50 cents, maybe 50 cents, if that. Hold on, my guys. Patrick, you get the door. My wife just came home. Okay. Raj, we were promised 100 smart cities. Then when Modi came into power, he said existing cities will be made smart. Now optical fiber is being dug up, made underground, while there are cows on the road. Yeah, I mean, actually, like Modi's plan is probably more intelligent, and it's probably based on, wisdom. Like, I mean, making a new city, India is making a lot of new cities, as I said. Tons of new cities are being made in India. But I'm kind of going, like I said, going back and retrofitting the cities. That sounds good. Okay, I'm back. Battery dead, and it's easy to sell. Hey, we're gonna fix up, Calcutta or New Delhi or whatever. But actually doing so is incredibly expensive and incredibly difficult, and it's something that's going to lose the government a lot of money and not make as much money as building an entirely new city from scratch. So while I commend Modi in, wanting to do that or saying that he wants to do that, because logically and rationally speaking, by all accounts, that's the better thing to do. However, it's also the much more difficult thing to do. And the thing about Modi in India is that he seems to have a kind of a, in my opinion, kind of a fantastic view of India and what India is. He doesn't. I don't know. It's like he doesn't. It's like he's completely disconnected from the lives and the reality of like what's actually happening out in the streets. To a level that because that's beyond even most politicians. All politicians are like that, but he seems to think that India is something that it isn't. But that's really my only real knock on the guy. I mean, he's trying to like really. It seems as if, and if you look at what he's done, he really put a lot of effort and a lot of like money and a lot of political capital into trying to make India a better place. It's almost like he's trying to be the guy that kind of turned the country around and modernized the country and made it, you know, like set it up in a way that it could like, survive and prosper into the future. And places like India at this juncture kind of need politicians like that. However, the way that he's doing it is a little, I don't know, it's a little dreamy, right? It's a little, I personally think it's kind of beyond the bounds of what is realistically possible. But he's trying, demonetization, worked out better than what anybody could have ever imagined. I mean, can you imagine USA if, Donald Trump got on at midnight and said, yep, starting at the stroke of midnight, all your money, or almost 86% of the money in this country is going to be null and void, and everybody has to go and stand these really long bank lines in the bank, and whatever. I don't know if it would have went over so well. Modi pulled that off, man, especially in a caste-centric economy, which is, I'm surprised he's still around, actually, after that. But anyway. yeah, about I mean, this the second part of what Raj said was he's trying to make these cities with like super fiber optic cables in these smart cities while there's like cows walking around the streets. Yeah, that's what's fascinating about India and South Asia is that you have this contrast between like the super modern and the super not modern superimposed like over each other, right, in the same place, right? These ancient traditions and practices and cows in the streets, and then you have like these skyscrapers and this booming tech industry in these smart cities, and fiber optic cable and internet that's faster than anywhere in the USA, right? So it's that's one of the fascinating things about traveling in this juncture is that you get to see the superposition of the super modern and the ancient like right over top of each other, and pretty soon it's not going to be this way. It's all going to be, or most of it's all going to be like modern, and any reference to like the ancient or the old traditions is going to be in kind of anachronistic replicas for tourists and shit like that. Right now it's real. You can see the real size of both things, and it's it's one thing I'm most fascinated in. It's the contrast. Georgia, how do you overcome the language barrier, especially when you meet an interesting person who has poor English? I speak a few languages. I don't know. I don't know how I do that. Generally, you just make it work, right? I don't know. Humans are born to communicate with each other. Sometimes the questions that you're asking, aren't too complex. Sometimes if I'm with somebody who doesn't speak a language that I speak, you can kind of do an interview with simple language, and you can kind of film or record the results or their responses, and then take those responses to someone who actually speaks that language and get them translated. I do that a lot. I did that in Korea a lot. Did it in some Russian-speaking places. But yeah, the questions. To ask like the questions that you generally ask, when you do an interview, who, what, why, when, how, right? Those are pretty easy to ask in almost any language. Then you can kind of get the response and translate it later. Raj, lots of metro subway work is going on in a dozen odd cities. A lot of public money wasted in the name of digital India. Thank you for covering China and its cities. It has enhanced my knowledge. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, digital India is kind of a strange concept, seeing how there's so many poor people in India, and there's so many issues of poverty and so many steps kind of in between, how the country is now and, building the country, a high-tech country for the future. But through investing in these kind of high-tech, avenues, one thing that it does, it kind of creates a life for kind of middle-class Indians and, upper class Indians, I guess, and people with talent. the high value people with a lot of talent and a lot of education and money, it kind of creates opportunities for them and gives them kind of incentive to stay in the country. Like a lot of African countries and a lot of emerging markets in general, one of the biggest problems that they're having is the people who are educated, the people who know something, that are smart, who come from well-connected families, the people that could really help build their countries. They're coming to the USA. They're jumping ship as soon as they can. They're going to Europe. They're going, to the UK. They're going to Canada. They're leaving their countries behind. So basically, like all these programs, like educate people in emerging markets, is only giving people like the raw skills to emigrate abroad and leave their country and only really send money back. That's not really a good country building strategy. So another side of building these new cities is kind of building kind of this modern infrastructure and creating modern opportunities that the high value people of any country can, embrace and kind of get them to kind of stay in country rather than going abroad and making a life and benefit in places like the USA and Europe. Because when like educated Indians go to the USA, the US gains a point, right? Canada gains a point, or UK, you gain a point because you're getting somebody that knows how to do something, who's going there to apply their skills to the country that they're now in, and the country that they leave kind of loses a point. You know what I mean? So that's another side of the whole new city building story. But about Modi, he seems to be developing by all out fiat. He seems to think that if he builds like all this new infrastructure and creates these new technological opportunities, that the poor people are just going to disappear. They're not going to disappear, man. They're not going to automatically become these middle class, high tech people, especially as you have like kind of traditional ways of organizing the society. But the poor people aren't going to disappear. It'll create opportunities for the middle class and the rich, but I don't know. I guess there's a lot of tea to pour or something. I don't know. Another question. Wade, recently over the past few months, the world is a little on edge in terms of fear of recession in 2019, 2020. I was young during the last recession in 2008. Any takes on how the next one will unfold? Yeah, as I was saying, like way early on, in this live Q&A session, humans have really short memories in terms of like remembering what was bad. We have a hard time focusing on what is good in the present, but we have a really hard time remembering what was bad in the past. You know what I mean? So we don't really remember the recession of 2008. We don't really remember the Asian recession of 1999. We just completely forget these things and all these lessons. Who said it? I don't know. Oh man, some famous guy said it. But he said the only thing that we can learn from history is that we don't learn from history. And it's true. The next recession, the economy is kind of going in cycles, and boom and bust cycles, boom and bust cycles, boom and bust cycles, and this is completely normal, right? However, this has happened so many times, right? And now it's happening roughly every 10 years that it seems like we should be able to put some kind of mechanisms in place to kind of even out these undulating waves of economic status. But we haven't. A lot of companies and investment firms and whatever banks doing the same exact thing. Now that they were doing that led to the recession of 2008. It's we don't learn, and the next recession is really bad because the next recession we now have all these new cities and all these new infrastructure projects and all of these, the whole new Silk Road and a lot of these things from like in emerging markets who made bets. They bet their futures on all this new infrastructure and building these new cities and building all this new stuff. And the thing about infrastructure development is that it takes a really long time before you can get any returns from it. Right? So it takes, 10 years to build, 20 years to really develop, 30 years before it's mature. But the world economy kind of goes in these boom and bust cycles every 10 years. So like any given infrastructure project has to be, ready to sustain, potentially 3 bust periods. And, during the last cycle, the new city, new infrastructure building leading up to 2008, a lot of these projects failed, right? A lot of them ended up being, white elephants. And now we're building like more than, 10, 20, exponentially more. I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's going to be pretty bad though. It's going to be pretty bad because, the global economy is like increasingly integrated. Each year that goes by becomes more and more and more integrated. So a fall here is gonna, it's like a table. You knock out one leg, the thing falls, right? And I think it's be pretty bad. So I'm enjoying this time now, right? Things are good. Things are really, really good right now, and we should really appreciate that and remember it. What are the effects of it? Next recession. We usually in the modern era we do get through these recessions, right? We go into our hovels. Like when the Chinese economy collapses, or act in a way that should collapse the economy if it was like a real economy. People just go home, right? 1998, 1999 financial crisis. You talk about like millions, 100, 200 million people who were working in the East. They just went back to the farms and started farming. Same thing in 2008, and it was kind of like they were, China has these safety blankets that people could go look back to their home villages. Now a lot of these home villages don't exist anymore. Wiped off the earth. So the next economic recession could really impact China, because now the government has to kind of owe a living to all these people whose homes they destroyed. They built all these villages that they kind of turned into high-rise apartment blocks, and the whole ancient traditional village structure in China is basically gone, and that was always China's safety net. But the rest of the world, we don't have these safety nets, and we haven't for a very long time. So I don't know what we're gonna do, but we'll figure it out. Oh, Brian Baker's back. Where outside the USA, if war broke, would people with medically fragile child go who cannot fly? USA? Like really? Someplace where you can get health care. You can't fly. I guess you could take a boat. Mexico's not bad. Depending on the medical ailment of the child, I would say Mexico is pretty good. But the whole idea of running from war is a little that's many steps down the road. Especially with the current military status of the USA, I'd say the USA is probably the best place to be, or among the best places to be, or go to some shithole country that no one's gonna bother wanting to bomb. Go to Oaxaca, hang out with Chris. Actually, yeah, go to Oaxaca, hang out with Chris. It's not a bad idea. People fear the social cultural repercussions that would take place. Yeah. Like socialism take over in USA and UK. Maybe something similar, I would say. I wouldn't want to say socialism, I'd say something more like, social fascism. More of a fascist, state-controlled regime. I guess socialism would work. But yeah, it's, I don't know. We live in interesting times, and that's all we could ever ask for. But, the theme of this live session has pretty much been, enjoy this time we have, because it's pretty damn good. The world is pretty damn good. Even a lot of the bad places are, relatively pretty good. Other than that, democratic socialism, yeah. Yeah, right on. As soon as people start losing faith in this corporate capitalist system, it's going to be very easy for other systems to kind of move in, especially now that we have a lot of I don't want to call them right-wing, more conservative movements that kind of don't trust the government. Since the government and the economic systems prove themselves to be, that you can't rely upon them. We could see something very different. That seems kind of silly now, right? It's like talk about revolution in the 21st century and stuff like that. But upheavals happen fast, man. Look at Germany. Germany leading up to like World War II. This was a very cosmopolitan, very progressive, forward-thinking country. And they got the Nazis, right? Things happen fast, and you can think that you're so smart and so advanced and so technological and wise and worldly, and that you learn from history, and then you get the Nazis, right? The shocking difference between the rich and the middle class in the West is huge. Yeah, I mean it's huge everywhere. But usually when I look at countries, I don't really concentrate on the upper classes because I mean it's such a fine crust of the society. If you really want to know if a country's doing well, kind of look at kind of the middle band. The West has huge middle class, or people who could be called middle class, people who I consider middle class, are people who get everything they need to live and basically are comfortable. At least that's not the technical definition. That's kind of a combination between like working class and middle class. But relative to a lot of countries, we're doing pretty damn well in the USA and Europe especially, even though we like to complain about it. Let alone in the East, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this disparity between like actually the new middle class actually and the working class in countries like China, working class and poor is it's huge. I mean, you have like one very large segment of the population that's living this mollified, modern lifestyle, right? With cars and movie theaters, and I don't know what else it is. I mean, basically, the only thing people in urban China do is go to the mall, but that's what they like doing. That's cool. That's what they like. And then you have like a much another massive segment of the population who's just kind of like doing these shit jobs, building the buildings and whatever. However, it's transitioning. It's been transitioning fast for a very long time. China's middle class kind of appeared out of nowhere, and now it's like there's more middle class people in China than there are people in the USA, right? And then some. So I don't know. This is kind of neat. It was kind of what we kind of see in China is kind of like the American dream, I guess you can say. One generation say, "Yep, I'm gonna fucking eat better. I'm gonna go to like the East and do this really crappy work so I can send money home to my family so my kid can get an education, and then move to the city and get a nice job." And for a lot of families, that actually happened because when in the beginning of the reform and opening period at the end of the 70s, pretty much everybody in China was dirt poor, right? So I mean, now you have people, I mean, the whole society within one generation. You have this massive upper class and then this incredibly huge middle class in a generation or two. It's wow, it's kind of a dream. Okay. Am I familiar with Gaspar Noé, a French filmmaker? No, man. Tell me about him. Here's the kind of weird thing about doing these live feeds is that somebody asks you a question, and then if you don't know, oh, here we go, here's the answer. I have always wondered how okay, that's another question. That's not about Gaspar Noé. But yeah, I mean, people ask me questions, and if I ask it back, it's not guaranteed that they're going to respond to what I say. So I just kind of sit here, kind of looking like an idiot. But anyway, nice question. I've always wondered how capitalism, economic system, and communism political system in China even work, let alone coexist in the same country. I can't wait to visit China. It's very easy. The government controls the economy. It's I mean, as far as like individual exchange and to no, I mean the government has their hands on all the levers of the economy, from like real estate market, housing prices, to like what areas get developed. I mean, what areas can put housing on the market to like what you can invest your money into. They want you to invest in the stock market. They make the stock market more attractive. They want you to invest in wealth management products. They make wealth management products more attractive. They want you to buy houses. They make buying houses more attractive. So I mean, kind of just imagine like the black box of this communist party, of the Communist Party, kind of having this like command center that's kind of like Star Trek Enterprise. Some dudes kind of sitting with all these like levers that they can like move up and down and back and forth, right, whatever, to kind of direct the stream of like investment in the country to go where they want to go. Oh, they want people going out to Chongqing. Well, they make Chongqing attractive. They want people to go way out west to Chengdu, which was a backwater. 20 years ago when I first started going China, Chengdu was a backwater. Now it's like one of the most dynamic, one of the most advanced cities on the globe, right? I think someone just grabbed the Chengdu lever and moved it up, and all this business and infrastructure and investment people moved up to Chengdu. So China's a really great study on government because I'm not a cheerleader of the Communist Party by any means, but what they do, they're generally very good at, and they're able to do some things that are unthinkable in any other country at any other point in history in terms of how many people they are impacted with these decisions, how quickly they can implement decisions, and how they generally come out kind of how they want them to come out. It's actually really scary. It's really, really, really scary. We've never seen a government like this, in modern era, or probably in history. We've never seen a government like the Communist Party of China. There's nothing you can even really compare them to. And one of the reasons is that they can change direction so quickly. Right? If they have a policy that's not working, and the research say, hey, this isn't working, they just change. They do something else, right? You can't do that in the West. Donald Trump can't show up one day and be like, oh, well, I'm actually going to, doing a complete about face on everything that I said. He'd be crucified, right? You can't do that in the West. But China can do that. It's like, oh yeah, we said this yesterday, but that was yesterday. Today's a new day. Now we're going to do something different. Just how flexible that government is scary. Gasper Noel. No worries. He's my favorite filmmaker. Oh, I'll have to check him out, man. I have to check him out. Wait, do people in China not yearn deeply for freedom? I'm not sure if they know what freedom is, but I will say they don't generally feel repressed. No, you would looking at China from the outside, you would think there'd be this big, kind of underground movement against the government, but it's bread and circuses, man. Bread and circus. It's like the Romans, right? The Communist Party knows that, hey, if people are well fed, if they're entertained, if their living status is rising, we can do whatever we want, and it doesn't really matter. We all think, we watch these movies and stuff. We think that freedom is important, right? We think that freedom is like one of the needs that people need, really, really crave. But that's just in storybooks, man. In real life, you look at the communist takeover, like even the Nazis. Even as far as like what people really want, freedom isn't very high on that list, man. In my opinion, right? We want food. We want to be entertained. We want to be, occupied. We want jobs. But freedom is only for basically kids that were raised in countries of plenty, who have, who take it for granted, take their status for granted, take their, the walls of their societies for granted. Then we start thinking about freedom, right? So, kids in the West. But there's a new generation in China coming up, and they're probably going to have very different ideas than the generations that precede them, because all of a sudden, being able to have a car, being able to live in, a modern, apartment isn't going to be special for them. It's going to be normal and every day. And they'll probably start looking for other things that they need in life, like namely, freedom and the ability to express themselves. And I would look for, I thought the kind of the youth revolution, the youth movement was going to happen in China this generation, and I kind of was there. I kind of set up this big project for it, and it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Chinese youth, they care, they're happy with their video games, right? But this next generation has come up, everything that they have now that's new and neat in China that kind of pacifies people. That's just going to be normal. And I don't know, they're gonna have to do something else, because I don't know, you can't restrict. Well, nobody can say what China can and can't do, because they keep defying the odds. You would also say that China can't, forcibly intern 2 million people, but they have, and they're still part of the world economy, and nobody does anything about it. So it's kind of a sad thing. Georgie said, I stopped worrying about economic crisis. They come and go. When you have nothing, you have no fear of losing it. I earn less than $500 a month and try to save as much as possible for traveling. Good on you, man. You said it. There's no point in worrying about it. Prepare for it. But it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. I mean, all these jobs I have now, I have money coming in from all kinds of different sources. I'm just like, man, in the event of even a small economic hiccup, at least half those sources are gonna fucking be gone, right? So, and I know this recession thing is coming, so it's, I'm not prepared. I actually don't know how to prepare for it. I don't know how to recommend preparation to anybody, if you even can prepare for such a thing. I mean, the only way I can see about preparing for it is like get a job like a nurse, or teacher, something that garbage man, something that people need no matter what, right? But who the fuck wants to do that, right? We want to be traveling webmasters. We want to be traveling filmmakers. We want to go out in the world and, make videos and documentaries and write articles and books and shit like that. That's what we want to do. And right now we're in, an economic state that allows us to do that. So I'm just taking full advantage of it and enjoying, this time while we have it. And I can do, what I want to do. But I know this could change in the future. It could change anytime. Anything can change at any time. But nothing to worry about. Anyway, guys, that just about does it. Any more questions? If not, then I'm going to sign off. And I'll be around again next week. I'll put announcements on this YouTube channel. Please subscribe, guys, if you haven't already. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on our Facebook page is Vagabond Journey Travel. My vagabondjourney.com is my blog. Or find me on Facebook, Wade Shepherd. That's my real name. Follow me. I'll announce the next one. I'm gonna try to do these every week, maybe every Monday, because Monday is a shitty day anyway, and nobody really wants to work on Monday, so you can listen to me blabbling about something. But anyway, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it, and until next week, have a good week, guys. Talk to you later.